Welcome! Today, we are diving into a really powerful tool for bringing some serious clarity to the chaos. We're going to master strategic process visualization with something called a SIPOC diagram. Think of it like a simple map that can totally change how your team works together. So, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been on a team where it feels like everybody is rowing in a completely different direction? One person is focused on step A, somebody else is already on step D, and it feels like nobody is looking at the same map? Yeah, this is such a classic problem. And look, it's not about people not working hard. It happens when your team just doesn't have that shared, high-level view of the process. Without that big picture map, it is so easy to get lost in the weeds or just head off in the wrong direction. And that is exactly where SIPOC comes in. It is that simple, powerful map we've been talking about. It's a tool that's designed to give everyone, from the CEO all the way down to a brand new team member, that big picture view of how a process really works, no matter how complicated it seems on the surface. So what is it exactly? Well, a SIPOC diagram basically summarizes a process by boiling it down to its most essential parts. The goal isn't to capture every single tiny detail, it's to create a shared understanding that everyone can look at and agree on. And it lays it all out in a really simple table. The real magic of SIPOC is the perspective it gives you. It's not about getting bogged down in every little step. It's about getting that bird's eye view so you can finally see how everything connects, from the very beginning all the way to the very end. Okay, so let's break this thing down. What actually makes up the diagram? The name itself, SIPOC, is actually an acronym for the 5 key pieces we need to understand. So let's just walk right through them. It starts with a supplier who provides the input. That input then gets transformed by the process, and that process creates an output which is ultimately received by the customer. Supplier, input, process, output, customer. Simple, right? That's the entire flow. Okay, theory is great and all, but let's make this real. We're going to apply the SIPOC framework to something we all get. Just a simple online store purchase. Let's see how this actually builds out, step by step. First up, we've got S for supplier. The supplier is just whoever kicks things off by providing the essential stuff, the materials or the information needed for the process to even begin. Now here's a really cool insight. In a lot of processes, like buying something online, the whole thing can't even start until the customer gives you something. So in this case, the customer is actually our first supplier. They're the ones supplying the order details that get the ball rolling. Next is I for input. These are the specific things that the supplier provides. It's not enough to just say an order. We need to get a little more specific. What exactly do we need to move forward? For our online store, there are really 2 key inputs. First, you've got the specific order details, like what product, what size, and where are we shipping it. And second, the payment. Without both of those things, the process just stops dead in its tracks. Now we get to the very heart of the diagram, P for process. This is where the transformation happens. This is where we take those inputs and we do a series of high-level actions to turn them into the outcome we want. So for our store, we can boil the process down to 3 big stages. And remember, we're not listing every single mouse click here. We just want the big steps. 1, receive and confirm the order. 2, pick and pack the product. And 3, ship the package. By keeping it high level like this, we don't get lost, and we keep the whole team focused on the main flow. Now we're at O for output. This is the tangible result of your process. What is the actual product or service that gets created and delivered after all those steps are done? In our example, there are 2 key outputs. The most obvious one is the delivered package itself, right? The physical product in the customer's hands. But another really important output is the receipt or the order confirmation, which kind of officially closes the loop on the transaction. And finally, we arrive at C for customer. This is whoever receives the outputs we just talked about. It's the end user, the destination for all the value we've just created in our process. And this is just brilliant because it shows the full loop. The customer who gets the package is, of course, the exact same person who acted as the supplier of the order way back at the beginning. The whole process serves them from start to finish. And there it is, all together, the complete SIPOC diagram for our little online store. You can see it all in a single glance. The customer provides the order and payment, which goes through our receive, pack, and ship process, and that results in a delivered package and a receipt for that very same customer. It's the whole story in one simple table.
Okay, so we've built one, but why should you and your team actually invest the time to do this? Well, the reason is simple. It's about transforming your workflow from a state of total chaos to a state of absolute clarity.
I mean, just look at this contrast. Before you have a shared map, like SIPOC, what do you get? Confusion, miscommunication, inefficiency. And when things go wrong, it leads to blame. We've all been there. But after everyone agrees on this high-level view, you get clarity, you get team alignment, and you get a real sense of shared ownership. It becomes the foundation you can build improvements on.
So what's the ultimate takeaway here? A SIPOC isn't just a diagram, it's an alignment tool. It creates a single source of truth that gets everybody on the exact same page. And once you have that shared understanding, you can finally start having productive conversations about what's working, what's broken, and how to actually make things better.
And I want to leave you with this idea because it's so important. The ultimate value of a SIPOC diagram isn't the finished table itself. It's the conversation your team has while you're building it. It's that process of arguing and agreeing on what matters that creates the alignment you've been looking for all along. So as we close out, I'm going to ask you to think about this. Based on what you've just seen, what is the single most important or most confusing or most critical process in your work that you and your team could map out tomorrow?